What is going on? This is your host, Emanuel, and I want to welcome you to this case study where I'm revealing the step-by-step process we use to help this busy dad and entrepreneur sustainably and predictably lose about 60 pounds in 20 weeks after feeling burnt out and confused from working with a weight loss coach that was probably even more confused. So if you want to lose body fat by reducing the time that you're already spending in the gym and you want to enjoy your food while being in a deficit, this can help you get there. So let's meet Josh. He started at 261 pounds. He finished at 198. And this is just the beginning of his transformation. Before the Highbrid Method Academy, he was struggling with the FOMO, fear of missing out, which got him into the obese category, and he was on the verge of getting type 2 diabetes. Fear of missing out was something that we had to address right away, and that wasn't by eliminating food categories, but instead, we actually helped him learn the concept of food freedom, which allowed him to have a lot of variety in his diet and not feel deprived. Josh is working 10 to 12 hours a day as a real estate investor, agent, and sales professional in the home insurance industry. Now, regardless of working this many hours, we still found creative ways to fit training and nutrition in his schedule and make some badass progress, as you can see in this before and after photo. He spends most of his time in the car and restaurants meeting with prospects. And because of that, he needed to learn how to eat at restaurants and still be able to lose body fat. Now, restaurant food can be much higher in calories than the food that we cook at home. So understanding how to handle that was an important element for his success. Josh was literally wasting 90 plus minutes per workout in the gym 6 days a week, working with another weight loss coach, and that was not realistic for him and burnt him out. He was overtrained, injured, and discouraged because he thought that this approach was the only path to success. So if you're trying to lose weight right now, ask yourself, can I stick to the plan that I am following currently for years? If not, you might have to revisit your strategy. Here's what Josh tried before and didn't get him the results that he actually wanted. Most of these approaches that he tried may work for some people. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're wrong. Ultimately, if you want to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. If ketogenic diet is what you enjoy and helps you stay consistent with your deficit, that's awesome. We can help you with that. If intermittent fasting helps you restrict the calories that you're consuming in a day and lose weight, great. We can help you with that as well. But Josh tried them too. He actually tried keto, which failed him due to his busy lifestyle and got him to binge on carbs later. And by taking out carbs, on top of a fear of missing out, we got the perfect recipe for binge eating. During his business appointments at restaurants, he would be around carbs. Okay, so anytime Josh would have a cookie or a banana or a piece of toast, he would feel bad. He would make himself wrong for quote unquote cheating on his diet. And from there, it would be a downward spiral. He also tried intermittent fasting, which led to overconsuming his calories pretty late at night. And that aggravated his fear of missing out and accelerated his weight gain. So basically, before he started working with us, Josh would skip breakfast. Sometimes he would skip lunch as well. He would push his meals towards the end of the day. Now, getting home stressed from work and hunger accumulated throughout the day, he would try to cram all his calories in 1 or 2 big meals. And he would still exceed his calories with dense foods like peanut butter, cookies, cereal, and high-calorie meals cooked by his wife, which at that time she wasn't aware of food density, energy balance, and so on. So he would basically go to bed with a full stomach of undigested food, compromising his sleep, which affected his recovery. And when you're chronically fatigued, you're more likely to overconsume calories because you feel hungry all the time. He also tried coaching programs, which in reality were cookie cutter style templates that were not actually customized for his specific situation. So he came to us from another online fitness coach who gave him a pretty restrictive and unrealistic meal plan, like rice, broccoli, chicken breast, yogurt, and protein shakes kind of thing. He got some workouts that were too long for his schedule and way too intense for his fitness level, which aggravated his knees and back pain. He also tried tracking calories, but everything was very inaccurate compared to what he learned inside the Highbrid Method Academy that got him to lose those 60 plus pounds. The way he was tracking his food was leaving a lot of calories on the table. He thought he was eating in a deficit, which was supposed to be around 2,000 calories, but in reality, he was consuming anywhere between 25 to 2,700 calories, which was his maintenance back then. And to be completely honest with you, a lot of people make this mistake and they're not even aware of it, and they're blaming it on the broken metabolism or the misconception that calorie deficits don't work. Well, Josh's metabolism was not broken by any means. What he was missing was accounting the not so obvious calories. Now, when Josh came to us, he wanted to make a change to live longer, better, and feel confident to take his shirt off. He was on the verge, like I said, of becoming diabetic. And every time he was invited at pool parties, on top of being pre-diabetic, anytime he would go to these parties, he'd get in the pool with a t-shirt on because he didn't feel confident about his body. He wanted to be able to take his daughters on his favorite hikes without having to stop every 5 minutes because he would run out of breath. He wanted to do this for his wife. He wanted to do this so he could show more respect and appreciation, not only for his own body, for himself, but also for his intimate relationship. He also wanted to do this for his business. He wanted more confidence to show up on more appointments and have more vitality and enthusiasm. And he knew that he could get that if he improved his health and his body composition. He knew that he would boost his confidence by simply taking care of his body and health, mentally and physically. And there are 7 steps that helped Josh lose 60 plus pounds in 20 weeks without having to trade business for fitness. In fact, he was getting more successful in business as he was getting in a better shape. So step number 1, we provided a clear vision for every natural stage of his transformation. So no more confusion here. That gave him the confidence that he needed to start transforming his body. See, everybody wants to lose weight, but without knowing what's the next step required to keep that weight off over the long term, it's the exact recipe for gaining the weight back. That's what a lot of people do. Step number 2, we established an initial realistic goal and time frame. So we assessed his lifestyle, his habits, we listened to his concerns, and together we set a goal that felt realistic for his lifestyle. Now, a side note here, if you want to get six-pack shredded in 12 weeks in your 40s, but you never had abs in your adult life and have more than 40 pounds of fat to lose, going after such a goal can be possible, but it will likely feel very unsustainable and burn you out. Most men that we work with who have tried these approaches prior came to us struggling with eating disorders. So we wanted to make the process feel as smooth as possible for Josh. Step number 3, we customized a sustainable nutrition strategy that allowed him to have dessert, eat out, and not feel deprived. So he learned food freedom and flexibility, which made the process fun and sustainable. Step number 4, we customized a training plan that cut in half the time he used to spend in the gym. The goal was to turn this into a process that felt very sustainable so he could create a fit lifestyle out of it. By spending less time in the gym and on the treadmill, he started having more time and energy for his family and for his business. Step number 5, we helped him understand the why behind the what, which is key for someone like Josh, who was committed to completely changing his lifestyle. Now, would you rather follow a process blindly and hope to get results? Or would you much rather want to understand the process, understand how and why it works, so you can stay focused on what you need to do to get results instead of questioning every step of the way and not fully committing to anything? Step number 6, we made consistent adjustments and provided coaching to overcome plateaus. Here's the thing. The body adapts to deficits. The deficit eventually becomes the new maintenance after a while. So without closely monitoring nutrition, body weight, body composition, training volume, recovery, it's pretty hard to know what adjustments you have to make and when to avoid plateaus. So that's what we did for Josh. And lastly, we provided him with an exit strategy so he could keep the weight off and transition into the next stage of his transformation. This is a very important component for weight loss, which unfortunately, too many programs, too many coaches do not talk about, do not teach this. And if they do, a lot of them don't have real life experience. I've done this with myself and my clients for almost a decade. And I can tell you that when done correctly, gradually, while paying attention to how the body responds, chances to keep most of the weight you lost off over the long term are much higher than not using this. So let's go into more details. So number 1, I said we provided a clear vision of every natural phase of his transformation. And fat loss is just one piece, one small part of a significant transformation. And most people start here and get stuck at this phase because they lack vision. So in this phase, Josh started seeing his weight going down every single week. He was losing inches around his waistline. His energy was improving. He started seeing more definition on his body. His wife was noticing. His family and friends started giving him compliments and ask questions. And he also started to change his wardrobe and donate the clothes that started feeling way too large for him. In this phase, we explained to him that it's not ideal to spend too much time in a deficit because staying at this phase for more than, say, 18 to 20 weeks maximum can lead to diet fatigue. The body adapts to lower and lower calories, which makes it unsustainable for most individuals to keep dropping calories. Plus, when you diet for a long time, you can't go back to eating the amount of calories you were eating to maintain your weight before the fat loss phase without gaining a lot of weight back. Now, towards the end of this phase, low energy, consistent hunger, cravings are expected as we're getting leaner. We let him know ahead of time and provided the necessary tools to successfully navigate through this phase and get his abs to show. So many people are not aware that low energy and hunger are actually expected during a fat loss phase. They freak out because they feel hungry, they feel low energy, they feel lethargic, and they end up binge eating. And from there, it's a shit show. That's why most guys don't even get to reach their goal before they start to gain their weight back. The second phase is metabolic restoration or reverse dieting, to keep the weight off and build muscle while eating more food. This is the holy grail of a permanent transformation, in my opinion. I will go more in depth towards the end of this video, but basically the goal here is to slowly increase your calories with minimal weight regain to a point where your new maintenance will be greater than your maintenance prior starting the fat loss phase. Why is this important? Well, if you want to get that chiseled physique, you want to get abs and keep those abs over the long term, but you haven't been there in your adult life, yet right now you're storing a lot of body fat chances are you won't get to that Greek gut physique level just by signing up for a quote unquote get shredded by summer type program and only do one fat loss phase, especially if you are under muscled. So it takes multiple cycles that involve these phases to get there. Each cycle, when done correctly, becomes more and more sustainable, and your body looks better every time. Third phase, muscle building. This is like investing in assets. The more you have, the more muscle you have, the more calories you get to spare. If you want to stay leaner for longer, or you want to be able to lose body fat easier in the future, you need muscle mass. The more you have, the more calories you get to eat without gaining weight quickly. I want you to think of this phase as acquiring more cash flow producing assets in your investment portfolio. The more assets you have, the more likely it is to reach financial freedom. Same with fat loss. The more muscle you have, the easier it becomes to stay lean. The problem is most men are under-muscled and overly fat because of all the crash diets, crazy amounts of running, and all the unfocused yet high-intensity type training. Phase number 4, lifestyle integration. Applying the skill sets and the knowledge and fully owning the body and the process of sustaining the progress. This is where you move from trying to get fit to living a fit lifestyle. Because after you went through these phases and learn what each phase entails, you're pretty much able to take more ownership over your transformation, over the process. And this entire 4-phase cycle, honestly, can take anywhere between 2 to 5 years for someone. The irony is that most coaches who took a long time, decades, some, to transform their physiques, they try to sell you on the idea that you can do that within 12 or 16-week transformation programs. Not true. And lastly, rinse and repeat. You can go to the first phase or third phase and follow the phase that makes sense thereafter. Maintenance is not an option. At this point, you have the knowledge, you have the skill set, and the mindset to enjoy your new body, to take over your transformation. Now, some people decide to go on sprint cuts before holidays or vacations so they don't have to suffer during those times but maintain their progress rather. Others stay focused on building muscle until they decide to get leaner again. Some people just keep repeating the cycle to get better each time. And the biggest pitfall here is the quote unquote, I want to maintain type mentality, which keeps people stuck because the human body either erodes or improves. The illusion of maintenance comes from the slow rate of change, which is often delusional. So there is no such thing as maintaining. The second step, we established a realistic goal and time frame. So Josh wanted to lose 40 pounds, but he didn't understand exactly how that would happen for him. So based off his calorie maintenance, we established a deficit that factored in his goal, his time frame, and most importantly, his ability to stay consistent with the nutrition part. We wanted to make the process as sustainable as possible this time so he wouldn't burn out again. So every kilogram of fat loss requires a deficit of 5,841 calories. Our initial deficit goal was 106,000 calories. 40 pounds, which is the amount of weight that he wanted to lose, equals 18.14 kilograms. We multiply that by 5,841 and we got 106,000 calories approximately. Now, we divided that number, 106,000, by 140 days, which is 20 weeks, his time frame, and we got a daily deficit of roughly 760 calories, which were subtracted from his daily maintenance. I hope you're following here. Now, because his maintenance was pretty high at that time, before we started the fat loss phase, because his maintenance was pretty high, we were able to create an even more aggressive deficit and speed up his progress. And that still allowed him to eat a good amount of food, honestly, which was great. So we helped him add enough variety, make smart desserts, and learn how to eat at restaurants while he was in deficit to not feel deprived, because before he was given a pretty restrictive meal plan, which was very unlikely for him to follow. We also set a time frame of 20 weeks max for his initial fat loss goal to avoid diet fatigue, to avoid binge eating and fat regain. Having a long-term vision in mind, it didn't make sense for us to push for more than 20 weeks for his initial goal without taking a diet break. This is why so many guys blow up after a fat loss phase. They go too aggressive, too restrictive, for too long without allowing their body to recover. They lose the weight, they feel good for a few days, but then they end up overeating and gaining all that weight back, plus some more. We didn't want that for Josh. Lastly, he wanted to lose 40 pounds. Well, he lost 62 pounds in 20 weeks, which allowed us 4 weeks to start the metabolic restoration process, which is basically the reverse diet. Step number 3, a sustainable nutrition strategy that allowed for dessert, restaurant food, and social life. The goal was to help him learn food freedom as early as possible. Remember, in the beginning, I mentioned that Josh was dealing with this fear of missing out. We didn't want him to compromise his business and social life for fitness, but excel in both. He learned food density, food variability, and how to track food more accurately. He used to track food for years, but the way he was tracking was far from reality. He thought he was eating about 2,000 calories when he reached out to us and felt stuck, but when we showed him how to actually track, he found out that he was actually eating close to 3,000 calories. So by learning food density and food variability and how to track properly, he learned how to eat more volume for low calories, which not only helped him stay satiated and avoid cravings, but also allowed him some room to add variety, include some desserts into his diet occasionally, ice cream, cake, cookies, pizza, which was a game changer. Next, we provided him with delicious fat loss recipes focused on lower calorie density foods that he enjoys and he could fit into his goals, into his macros and calories. I personally do this as well when I'm cutting. I include enough variety in my diet so I don't feel deprived. And that comes from custom recipes for fat loss and muscle building that Hailey and I have been creating and improving over the years. Actually, I've been testing a lot of those on myself. We provided a custom restaurant ordering system and plan for eating at social events that made enjoying social life guilt-free, plus a list of macro-friendly food options from the most common fast food restaurants here in the US. So he no longer had to be that confused, overweight guy that eats boring salads and struggles to lose weight, but be the guy who's getting shredded by eating something that he enjoys because he knows how to do that. There's no doubt that restaurant food is pretty high in calories compared to food that we prepare ourselves, which makes it hard for the average individual who eats out often to lose weight. However, we developed a system that allows us to still eat out, have burgers, have pizza, have a beer, or eat at our friend's house and still lose body fat. So we showed him exactly how and what to order at restaurants, what to do before, during, and after holiday dinners or networking events that involved food to enjoy these events and still make progress. We showed him step by step the entire process so he could feel confident and safe around these events and still enjoy himself. Lastly, he started creating staple meals that he enjoys, which allowed his coach to make the necessary adjustments and overcome plateaus. The more consistent the variables are, the better we know what and when to adjust to keep making progress. And by the way, we included pancakes, wraps, ice cream, chocolate cake in his fat loss nutrition plan. Although these meals look almost the same, our fat loss custom-built recipes are easy to fit into a calorie deficit. So if you're looking at the numbers here, you will see a huge difference. And these recipes allow you to track everything as accurately as possible. And these are just a few examples of what our students eat to lose body fat. Because the goal is to learn that there is an abundance of food and variety out there, regardless of what phase of transformation you're in. And since Josh was struggling with FOMO in the beginning, we didn't want to take away from his options. But instead, we wanted to add more options that he could choose from. Step number 4, we provided an effective training plan that cut in half the time he used to spend in the gym. He wanted to get lean and muscular, but he was training and eating for getting skinny fat. Long high-intensity cardio workouts combined with low calories often lead to low testosterone. He was losing muscle while gaining fat. That's what most men that I coach used to do before joining the program. They cut out carbs or skip their meals. Josh did that too. They don't eat enough protein. They crank up the intensity of their training, which is mainly cardio-based, instead of lifting weights for muscular development. And all of that, combined with an aggressive deficit, leads to significant drops in testosterone and the negative side effects of that. And so we customized a hypertrophy and fat loss focused training plan that required 40 minutes or less per day in the gym versus what he was doing before, 90 plus minutes per day. And that allowed him to recover faster, therefore progress faster. Before, he was feeling overtrained and overworked. And on top of that, his newborn daughter was interrupting his sleep, which again, had we kept pushing Josh to spend hours in the gym and on the treadmill with so little recovery, he would have been completely burnt out by now. Fortunately, he's not. And he's continuing his transformation with us inside the Highbrid Method Elite. Every workout included rehab and corrective exercises, so he would get his lower back and knees stronger and prevent future injuries. He came to us messed up from the high-intensity workouts given by his previous coach. His lower back and knees were hurting. At 261 pounds, 30+% body fat, he was told to run and even sprint, which is not surprising that he developed those issues. Now, I personally have 2 herniated discs in my spine. Both my shoulders have been dislocated, my right pec partially torn, and this got me obsessed with studying the biomechanics of the human body. Now, none of these injuries are from lifting weights. However, I use the gym to rehab the affected areas and prevent them from flaring up in the future. That's what we showed Josh. How to train with correct form and add in key exercises to get his body stronger so he can stay in the game for a long time. Next, we helped him train his body to grow, not just to burn calories. This is the reason why many guys look the same after decades of training. It's because they're disconnected from their body. They pick the wrong exercises and they lift heavy but not focused just to stroke the ego. We always believe in timeless principles used in bodybuilding. Feeling the tension in the targeted muscle is one of them. Keeping that tension, keeping that stress consistent during each set. Full range of motion for every exercise. Taking sets close to failure with proper form. Choosing and staying consistent with the right exercises. Applying progression along the way at the right time. These are timeless principles, guys, that work all the time. We don't want to hit PRs while we're in a calorie deficit, because that leads to injury. Nor do we train just to get a good sweat in. If we want to build that chiseled physique, we need muscle. Lastly, we replaced intense cardio that made him miserable with his favorite hikes and walking outside with his family. That way, he didn't have to stress over the idea, oh, I have to do cardio, but instead, use that time to connect with his family and enjoy being in nature on his favorite hikes with his favorite people. Step number 5, we help them understand the why behind the what. Because clarity equals certainty that leads to results. So we help them get clear on a realistic goal and time frame, which answered his "what do I want" question. Next, we showed him step by step how exactly he will get there. That answered the question, how am I going to get there? Training, nutrition, recovery, mindset, all of that. Lastly, we We helped him understand why every step in the process was important for his transformation. Not understanding the why behind the what made it easy for him to quit before, regardless of how great the plan he was following was. If he didn't understand what the plan would do for him, how the plan would work for him, and why the plan would work for him, he wouldn't believe that he could get the results. Therefore, he wouldn't commit fully to anything. We helped him understand why certain foods are better for the fat loss phase than others. Josh had some awareness around calories, and he tried to stay in a deficit before. I mentioned this, like he started tracking calories, he was tracking calories, but he was very, very inaccurate. But because he didn't know how to choose the right foods to feel satisfied and satiated, he would struggle with hunger, he would struggle with cravings, and he would end up overeating calories, which would set his progress back. We also helped him understand why low-intensity training and cardio is preferred over high-intensity interval training and intense cardio, which he was doing before during the fat loss phase. This may come as a surprise for a lot of people, but while you're in a deficit looking to lose fat tissue, your body is already struggling. Now, high-intensity stuff only adds more fatigue, slows down the recovery, and triggers uncontrollable hunger. We also provided one-on-one coaching and continued training to keep learning the whys behind every step of his transformation. He got access to our VIP course, which covers in depth all the topics discussed here. Every week, he would be on a one-on-one session with his coach. He would stay in communication daily with us. He would attend specific live trainings inside our community. Step number 6, we provided consistent adjustments and one-on-one coaching to overcome plateaus, which literally made it impossible for him to fail. What is not being measured cannot be improved. In other words, like in business, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where to make improvements. Fitness is like business in that regard because not having awareness around the important metrics involved in fat loss leads to unpredictable results. If you don't measure, you don't know where you need to adjust to get better. We track training, nutrition, body composition, and recovery to objectively assess his progress and make the necessary adjustments to prevent plateaus. That way, we take the emotions out on our end and focus on results. We had him track his food, including his desserts and restaurant meals. He tracked his workouts every week, weight lifted, reps. He tracked his body weight daily. He updated progress pictures weekly. His watch was tracking his steps, his sleep, and the estimated calories expended every day. All this data helped us predict and prevent plateaus from happening. When you have all the variables tracked, you know exactly what and when to adjust. His mindset was kind of hindering his growth. If you're stuck, it's probably because your mindset is keeping you stuck. As human beings, we start being programmed by our environment the day we're born. Now, some of these mental programs are helping us, some are not. And changing the mindset starts with becoming aware of the limiting belief and how that limiting belief is affecting us. Then we need to find better alternatives that we can choose consciously until we rewrite the software. Now, subconsciously, Josh did not even believe that he could build a great physique because he was told that obesity and type 2 diabetes was running in his family growing up. Therefore, he would subconsciously make choices that would support those mental programs. So we started working on replacing those limiting beliefs with the mindset required for building and keeping the physique of his dreams. Because ultimately, we cannot create a six-pack lean and muscular body with an obese mindset. And you cannot lose weight and keep it off with the same way of thinking and valuing life that got you overweight. Step number 7, we provided an exit strategy to keep the weight off and transition into the next phase of his transformation. That is reverse dieting, or what I like to call metabolic restoration. If you want to lose body fat and keep it off for good, you don't want to miss this. Most people get caught up into fat loss, but don't actually have a plan for after to keep that weight off. And guess what? They end up gaining the weight back. Josh lost weight before, but he didn't know what was the next step after that. Therefore, he went back to his old habits and gained the weight back. Nothing surprising here. There's actually a study done in 2016 on the participants of the Biggest Loser show that found that 95% of those who lost a significant amount of weight gained it back within 3 years. Even worse, 3/3 of these individuals gained it back plus more. And they also found that each time they would attempt to lose weight, it would get much harder. Now, of course, those approaches were extremely unsustainable. It's a TV show for entertainment. But the study shows that unsustainable fat loss attempts without a long-term vision and a plan to recover metabolically can be a recipe for disaster, for failure. After 20 weeks in the program, Josh actually started a metabolic restoration process to be able to eat more food and keep the weight off over the long term. Even though we included some refeeds, 20 weeks of deficit started feeling pretty tiring for him. And because we wanted to avoid the negative consequences that come with diet fatigue, we started adding calories back into his diet to improve his metabolic rate and be able to eat more food and more calories without excess fat regain. This is a mandatory step for a successful transformation. Next, we started with a more aggressive increase. In the first week, 10% from his calorie intake. Then we kept increasing by 2 to 5% per week thereafter until his weight would start moving up. When the weight would move up faster than we would want to, we would pause the calorie increase until the weight would stabilize. Then we would continue to gradually add calories while monitoring his body composition. The goal is to keep the fat off while eating more food, increasing performance, and building more muscle in the process. During a reverse diet, it's important to know when to increase calories, when to pause, or make adjustments to the training volume and intensity. His previous maintenance was about 2,500 calories. His current maintenance is about 3,000 calories. The goal at the end of a reverse diet is to bring the maintenance calories to a higher number than it was before the fat loss phase. That is what makes an epic transformation sustainable, because when your maintenance gets higher, the deficit becomes higher, plus with more calories comes more lean tissue, lean muscle. You start looking more muscular, which means the next fat loss phase will feel easier as the body composition improves. So theoretically, if you follow the process correctly, after each cycle of fat loss, metabolic restoration, muscle building, your body starts looking better and better. And that's why when I see fitness gurus advertising Greek gut physique in 12 weeks or movie star physique in 16 weeks, that stuff makes me cringe. And I honestly feel bad for men who fall for those gimmicks, because everyone in the fitness industry knows that to achieve an outstanding physique takes years of consistency. Building a physique worth displaying requires all these phases covered in this video, done over and over again. Josh is now following another fat loss phase inside the Highbrid Method Elite. And this phase feels more sustainable than the first one. And Highbrid Method Elite is a year-long program where we teach more advanced techniques to speed up the progress, create a fit lifestyle, and eventually take full ownership over the process. Because we don't want to see Josh be taken advantage by fear-based marketing tactics practiced by all sorts of gurus or charlatans in the fitness industry who claim to have the secret. Because what I went over with you in this video are timeless principles that work all the time. How do I know that? Well, because people who get paid to improve their physiques, like bodybuilders, actors, athletes, have been using them for decades. And yes, it does require work. Yes, it does require patience and consistency. But anything else that promises fast results, cheat codes, hacks, secrets, as you already experienced, doesn't lead to any lasting results. And all we do in the Highbrid Method Academy is take these principles, we customize them for your goals and help you integrate them into your lifestyle so you can start making progress in a sustainable way, all while understanding the why behind the what. behind the process. And I know I shared a lot of information in this video, but I hope that this gives you the confidence that you're looking for to start your transformation and never look back. Imagine applying this knowledge and getting your abs to show in 20 weeks or even less without having to burn yourself out in the gym like Josh did, or eating boring foods that you hate just to end up binging later. How would your spouse react to that transformation? What would your friends say? What would your rivals or competitors think of you? Now, if what I covered here made sense and gave you some hope, but you're still a little overwhelmed or don't know exactly where to start, what goals to aim for in the beginning, what your nutrition and training strategy should look like, that's okay. I've been in those exact shoes more than a decade ago, and I understand that. I literally shared with you pretty much a decade of knowledge and hands-on experience in this case study. But I got your back. So if you want results like Josh and other busy men entrepreneurs that we helped over the years, what you can do is grab your phone, scan the QR code, or click the link below this video to apply for a free transformation discovery session to discuss your current lifestyle situation with a professional in our team, so we can learn more about your schedule, your habits, see what you've tried before, what worked for you, what didn't, and basically get a feel for what you might need help with to move in the right direction once we, of course, get clear on your goals. Because like we did with Josh, we want to see where you're at with your body composition, where you ideally want to be, and what will be realistic for you to accomplish within the time frame that you have in mind without false promises. However, just a reminder, Josh wanted to lose 40 pounds in 6 months, and he lost more than 60 pounds in 4 months. So chances are you might be keeping the bar pretty low right now just because you are not fully confident that what you're doing is the right thing for you. That's totally fine. Let's see what's going on and let's find ways to raise that bar higher and get after your goals. And that's the purpose of the transformation discovery session. And lastly, create a plan that helps you lose body fat, get abs, and build muscle in a predictable and sustainable way, guaranteed, if we decide to work together. Once we gather all the information that we need, if we both feel aligned, and if we feel confident that we can help you, we'll take some time to customize a clear roadmap that will help you reach your goals. And we'll discuss that together on a separate one-on-one strategy session, which is also free. You only pay if you get accepted in the coaching program, and it makes 100% sense for us to work together. And by the way, I believe so much in the process that we've developed in our programs that if you don't get results 1 month before you complete your program, we'll keep working with you for free until you reach your goals. However, full disclosure, for this level of service, where we're basically in trenches with you every step of the process and do it with you, we can only take on 5 men at a time. If you're watching this, it means that the enrollment process is still open, but the spots are not guaranteed. So what you want to do is scan the QR code to apply now. Once the application comes through, you will get a confirmation from someone in our team with the details for our session. Since we have very limited spots for one-on-one coaching, we want to make sure that we work with the right people. That means you have to be coachable, you have to be open-minded and willing to let go of what you've been learning about fitness so far but hasn't served your goals. The people that we work with are action takers, are solution-oriented, and resourceful, meaning they're always willing to learn, grow, and invest in themselves. If that sounds like you, I'm excited to get to know you and see if or how I might be able to help. If that's not you, that's totally fine. Thank you for watching this video, but we cannot help you if you're not in a state of receiving help and doing what it takes to change your current state.